not that it was done or built into the formula before we came into the world. So in contrast to the European approach to education, which says that this human vessel needs to be empty of whatever its creator sent it into the world possessed of, and then have that replaced by some human ideas of what should go into them. The African approach is that everything necessary for that human creature to be perfect and to achieve perfection and do perfect things is already inherent in that human being.
That's right.
And the purpose of right-thinking adults, therefore, is to nurture that which the Creator Spirit has sent into the world and facilitate that coming out and blossoming out of this creature, as opposed to it having to be removed. So the African-centered approach to education is one that says that we take this creature that the Creator Spirit has sent into the world with all of this unlimited potential for good and help to facilitate that creature becoming as good a human being and as good a spiritual-based creature as he or she is capable of being. And then all other things will be added unto that creature. It's sort of like the biblical phrase that says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, then after that all other things will be added unto you. So at our school, for example, being an African-centered school, we teach fundamentally to our children that the responsibility they have is to work with their teachers and their school leaders, advisors, counselors, and those who support them to become the best human beings that they're capable of being. And that as a result of that, all of the other things will become much easier for them to do, including, but not limited to, academic success or success with academics. The first order of business is to be the very best human being that you are capable of being. Right. Now, you and I know that there is nothing inherent in the Euro-American approach to education that even gives any consideration to encouraging people to be the best human beings that they can be. Right. In fact, we are taught that the law of the jungle prevails in America and in the world, and therefore the last thing that you can afford to be is a good person, because goodness itself is considered to be a weakness, or at least a sign of weakness. Yeah. So the European approach, a Eurocentric or European-centered education, is one that is based on a flawed thesis, which is that there's something innately, inherently, naturally wrong with these human creatures that this creature or this creator that we refer to as God, and some may call him Allah or Yahweh or whatever, would send into the world. That they then question basically the judgment and the intentions of the creator. That such a creator would send into the world creatures known as humans, put them in charge of everything, and they themselves are flawed and inclined to do evil. Africans don't believe any such nonsense. We believe that people come into this world essentially perfect, because that which sent us into the world is itself perfect. Any imperfection that takes place with humans comes after we get here, and usually because of the influence of the other humans that we are subjected to and who manage to gain control of what constitutes our education and our development. That being said, then, it is clearly of absolute urgency that children of African descent in these United States of America, as well as elsewhere, if I might add, need absolutely to have their education provided to them in the context of this African-centered approach, as opposed to this European-centered approach. Because the European-centered approach is bad enough for Europeans, but since they're in charge, you see, they can reap the benefits of their dominant position. It is absolutely a nightmare for people who are subject to and subordinate to these people whose power to influence what we do is held by other people than those of us who are subject to those powers. So in other words, white people can absorb the negatives that come with their approach to humanity because they're responsible for it. Black people, on the other hand, are devastated by it because we don't have the recuperative outlets that they have. We cannot enjoy the kinds of escapes from those kinds of pressures that they can provide for themselves, at least on a selective basis amongst those among themselves who they are willing to share those benefits with. So that's why there's the saying, as you know, that when white people catch a cold, black folks get pneumonia. Yeah. Because the situation is multiplied in its intensity and its gravity when it gets to the point that it affects us. So we believe that it's absolutely essential that children of African descent in the United States of America and eventually in the rest of the world are provided with an African-centered education so that it puts them in the proper context in terms of their relationship to other human beings, to other forms of life, and to the universe itself, and most significantly perhaps, to the very creator that sent them into this world. That is why it's so absolutely important for the people who would hear and see this video to make contact with us at the Joseph Littles-Nguzo Saba Charter School here in Riviera Beach, Florida now, and join in the effort with us to fight back this attempt by this superintendent to close this school because he chooses to deny children of African descent this opportunity, which the school provides to them, to escape from the course in life which the school system itself has been determined to put them on and keep them on, knowing that it has devastating results. One of the things that most people are not aware of, for example, is that here in the state of Florida, where we have the infamous FCAT, the Florida Comprehensive Assessment Test, that is, of course, the standardized test used throughout the state of Florida, supposedly to determine the success or failure of whether children are being educated and presumably developed. Children who fail the FCAT reading exam in the 3rd grade, their failure rates are used by the state of Florida to predict and anticipate how many prisons and jails are going to be needed in the state some 8 or 9 years later. Keep in mind that 3rd grade children, if they're in the right grade that they should be in, are either 9 or 10 years old. So what we're saying here is that based on a standardized reading test given to those children when they are only 9 or 10 years old, a decision is made that those children invariably will end up in prison or jail when they get old enough to go to prison or jail, which in most cases would be 7 or 8 years later in life. And you know, brother, that once they begin to build prisons and jails in anticipation that these children will invariably end up being assigned to those places, it is highly unlikely that they're going to do anything to reverse the effects that these children have been on that led them to fail FCAT reading in the 3rd grade. So they don't have any intentions whatsoever of trying to correct whatever is the problem that caused these children to fail reading in the 3rd grade on the FCAT, because now they have invested time, effort, and money into planning for those children to be incarcerated by the time they turn 17 or 18 years old. With that being the case, then, who do you think are the students who tend to fail?